back to Watchbox Studios and Watches Tonight. I'm your host, Tim Mosso. It's good to be back. This evening, we're talking about wristwatch resale value, the Vacheron Overseas versus the usual suspects, a spirited defense of Audemars Piguet's Code 1159 collection, and my favorite new watches of 2019. Won't you join me? All of this and your wrist shots tonight on Watches Tonight. I need to remind you that the people who pay for these pixels, and yours truly, thewatchbox.com, 24 hours a day, 7 a week, and we are global, the best place to buy, trade, or sell your watch. It's actually where I buy and sell my watches. And of course, I am willing to offer you compensation in the form of a free Panerai Luminor PAM 523. Link in the description to win that one. The 29th is your last day, so get to it. I wanted to go to a YouTuber. Join me on Instagram, Tim_Mosso, for my short form 60-second watch reviews. New watches posted daily, Tim_Mosso. And then you're part of the show. You guys, with your wrist shots, showing me what you got. Russell K takes the plunge with a bottomless black enamel dial, Patek Philippe 5370p, split seconds chronograph, and epic lighting, nicely phrased. Michael C sports a well-rounded chronograph collection with Patek Philippe, Ball, Zenith, and IWC. Brad S. of North Carolina along the Great Lakes, in Wisconsin trail running with his Submariner no date, and Dylan L. is the pilot in command with the IWC Spitfire chronograph on his flight deck. Guys, send your watch wrist shots to Monday Mailbag at thewatchbox.com to see your pieces on my pixels. I could see right here, friends joining from far-flung, Omegatron, first in the box, JBO Surf from Adelaide, Australia. We've got Spilker K, we've got Eddie Landsberg, longtime viewer and occasional live audience. We've got Vimeru T from India, and we've got Slayer Rock Forever, a man after my own heart, Lee Hawkins from the UK, Bushfriend27 from Germany, and I can see we've got Andres Morales from Pensacola, my old haunt from my Navy days. Welcome all. Alexi Simola from Finland, and Olivier from Montreal. Thank you for getting up early, or alternatively, staying up late with me. Guys, we have a question from your own ranks. Javade asks, Tim, I'm interested in the current Vacheron Overseas collection, but I'm concerned about resale value. The used pricing on these seems like a great value for the features you get. But should I be concerned that these prices aren't as secure as, for example, if I bought a Royal Oak or a Nautilus or an Aquanaut? Well, if you're buying new, then yes, all versions of the Overseas are going to lose value out of the case. And I'll even add that the more complicated the watch, if you're talking about a tourbillon, a perpetual calendar, even a chronograph, it's going to lose more as a percentage of its resale than if you just went out and bought the steel automatic that you see right there. Many folks will draw parallels between watches and cars, and I gotta be fair, this one is perhaps a car or a watch on which you would like to go long. At $19,300, this watch right here now sells used for about $15,500 to $16,000, which is better than it sold in 2016 or 2017 used. So though they still lose value, they are getting a little bit stronger. I do have to remind you that depreciation sort of ends the parallel between watches and cars, because after you buy them, value works very differently. You take that huge hit when you drive off the lot or you pull the watch out of the dealer's case. But here's the thing, new and used cars depreciate continuously from the time of purchase as miles accumulate and the machine's finite durability is exhausted. But used watch value is different because, well, the proposition here is that cars have a life cycle that starts with the showroom and ends as bit players at Monster Jam. And well, after their long goodbye under the wheels of Truckosaurus Rex, the cars eventually depreciate to the equivalent of their scrap commodity value. And that's where things end, at a recycling center. Watches aren't like that. The initial depreciation hit can be steep, and with something like a Vacheron Overseas tourbillon, it definitely would be steep. I can also say that all fine watches have service lives that are measured in centuries, not years, not decades, and this sets them apart from cars. Serviced watches don't wear out. You have watches from the 19th century, the 18th century, going back to the Renaissance, and they can still be made functional and tell time. Watches are made much better today than they were back then. Their service lives are going to be even longer. As a result, All luxury watches, regardless of how much value they lose at first, they reach a value floor. At a minimum, this is the end of depreciation. For certain models, it can be a rally point from which they may actually regain some value over time. Like I said, the Overseas in 2016, you bought one of those new, you sold it, you were going to take an absolute bath. Today, that watch in steel is actually a fairly decent store of value by watch industry standards. You're still going to lose, just not as much, but there has been an improvement and the trend line is up. So, a used Overseas and a new one are very different props from depreciation perspective. Buying new has its advantages, but value, because of depreciation, is not one of them. Finally, I would mention that just because you're looking at the Overseas, there are a few features of that family that are essentially not present in your Royal Oak, your Nautilus, your Aquanaut. There is no equivalent at Patek or AP to the Vacheron Overseas World Time, nor is there an equivalent to the, well, actually I would say the no date. I'm going to jump out on a limb and say that the no date, which is 40 millimeters, 7.5 millimeters thick, and powered by the same movement as the Royal Oak Jumbo, that is just as appealing in white gold as the Royal Oak Jumbo salmon dial that appeared this year. So you probably have more appealing options than you think. Not everything about the Overseas collection is one-for-one equivalent to its rivals. There are actually some features and facets that are unique to the Overseas, or as good as anything in the business. Jumping into the box right here, we got friends from everywhere. We got Kenneth S. from New Jersey. We've got Hale Bop joining in. We've got Darren P. from Lansdale. We've got Eddie Kim from Virginia. And we've got Jeffrey Rosen from Long Island. Marceau R. joining in. And I see Arvin T. from Kearney, New Jersey. And Thomas from the UK. All right now, let's talk about a word from my conscience, because I've been wringing my hands over the last few days about something that I knew I was going to do and immediately regret. And indeed, it happened just yesterday. I will be the first to lay down the sword, but let's stop ragging on the Audemars Piguet Code 1159 collection. Downrange, hold your fire. I ripped the Code 1159 yesterday in an Instagram post of a no-date ultra-thin AP dress watch. And frankly, it is better than what AP is offering now, but I also realized that that had to be the last of it from me. I've gone too far, and if anything, I've underestimated this collection, and I'm thinking maybe this goes for all of us throughout the watch fraternity. After a point we're just piling on, it's bringing out some of the worst elements in the community, including malice, groupthink, and pretense/snobbery. So let's be honest first about the real weaknesses of this series before I launch into a vigorous defense. This is the countercharge against the backlash from the Code 1159. But let's first admit what was absolutely wrong with the initial models. First, the flat dials of the Chronograph and the Automatic. Money was spent here on multi-layer lacquer and hand finishing, but the result looks flat, formless, featureless, and cheap. Comparisons to $300 watches off of Amazon were rife, and they were unflattering. Prices were too high, $26,800 for that three-hand automatic, and for the chronograph even more, over $42,000. And with all of the watches in precious metal, you have to pay the precious metal premium. All of these prices felt about 10 to 15% too dear for an unproven model line. I'll also mention that AP's rollout was both tone-deaf and arrogant. The pomp, the circumstance, the attitude, the arrogance even. A lot of folks are confusing the product quality with the way the watches were rolled out, which was remarkably clueless. And I have to say that if they'd been launching an all-new line of Royal Oaks, it would have been over the top. For a collection that basically drew, at best, polite applause, it seemed so overwrought as to be cloying and obnoxious, and I'm not going to argue that. And finally, the watches photograph poorly. In the era of digital everything, 99% of the people who have an opinion on these watches have an opinion based on something they saw on social media or on an internet journal or on an internet forum. So we're working with imperfect information, or at the best, secondhand experience. So still, there's a ton that's right about these watches. And with all of the mistakes made, from the rollout to the dials to the pricing, I'm going to say that while the standard automatic and chrono need to be redialed like yesterday, can we go full full screen there. You can see what I mean when I talk about these needing to be redialed. But I will say that the Code 1159 complications, let's stay full screen, are stunning in person. The complications look great. Those dials are spectacular. In particular, the ones that are off-centered from roughly the center to the left, the tourbillon with its gradient enamel, the super sonnerie with its solid no-date gradient enamel, and then the aventurine dial of the Perpetual Calendar. Those are not just better, those are good. I would even go so far as to say those are great. And they're all slim and wearable at 41 millimeters. If anything, we are underrating those watches. And the Auto and the Chronograph are just a dial change and a titanium case away from being this good. So take that into consideration. A gradient dial enamel, sonnerie, and tourbillon dial, plus the Perpetual Calendar's aventurine, pull the Code collection at least part of the way out of the fire. And I really feel like this could be a rallying point for 2020 if you ditch the precious metal, give us tantalum and titanium, and these dials on the standard models. Heck, even adding these dials, you could charge less for the watches just by getting rid of the precious metal. And people want base metals. Hell, give us steel. Moreover, the new automatic caliber 4302, which is the 3-day automatic, and the Chronograph 3-day power reserve flyback 4401 are solid movements of next generation architecture, and we've been demanding this from AP for years, claiming they were coasting on their reputation and sitting on their laurels. Well, these movements leave nothing to be desired. They're gonna find their way into the offshores and the Royal Oaks, and they're gonna be great in those applications. But they launched here first, and right now this is the only way to get them. These are excellent movements, and AP is giving us what we demanded. Case construction. If we just cycle through the images we've got of these watches, case construction is intricate, nuanced, impeccably executed. The dihedral sapphire, which slopes up from its center, might be the most expensive crystal on the market that's not actually a case component. And I have to say that money was spent there as well. Finally, let's remember that the most vitriolic critics of this collection are the ones who have not seen the watches. That's always telling. And I have to say that I've experienced every model, right up to the super sonnerie, and I can tell you they're all better in person by varying degrees, with the complications being the best by far. Please join me in extending an open mind and a second chance to AP here. There are people at AP who truly love watches and want to do right by this collection. They are trying in earnest to get the basic automatic and the chronograph up to speed. I would even say expect a big sophomore year from the Code 1159. It's not bad, and I've accepted that. It might even be good. With work, it could be great. Watch this space. Jumping into the box right here, I can see you guys are joining in from Fürth, Germany. Dems Chen. I can see we've got Jesus841 saying that the hands on those watches are boring, and I agree with you. I can see that we have Aleph Null saying the dials must be redesigned. I agree, a bracelet would be crazy. That's a great idea, and I would approve of that, especially if it comes with a steel or titanium case. And then right here, I've got Michael Cheng, who is a viewer as well as a contributor of Wrist Shots, saying, I have yet to pull the trigger for any AP after more than 30 years of watch collecting. Honestly, there is only one model, the Star Wheel, that was interesting. If you liked the early 90s Star Wheel, check out the 125th anniversary Star Wheel Millinery in steel. That's the one to own, Michael. And I can see right here, Ryan D. Kudos Tim for throwing AP a bone, Jack Paul, Yo from London, and then Tim Mosso's sunglasses, the Sentient Specs, saying AP has one exceedingly iconic watch that renders the remainder of the catalog irrelevant. This is why Rolex is such a titan. AP has one icon, Rolex has a dozen. If AP isn't a Royal Oak, no one cares. Although I will say this, Rolex has yet to crack the formula for a dress watch, and Cellini is my counterpoint. Jumping straight in, we have Marco B. joining in from Firenze, the homeland of Panerai, and then John Doe opining that AP is a one-trick pony. And then JBO with a rather, shall we call it blue humor comment on the nomenclature Code 1159. The comment box is there, you guys can read. And then right here, we have Lisa asking, Tim, where are you in deciding what you are going to collect? I'm glad you asked because I'm going to share some of my favorite watches of 2019 and throw you a bit of a bone to let you know where I might be going. I'm thinking independence. I'm thinking value and complications. I'm also thinking about making Zinn a theme, as well as getting into German watches in general with Zinn, Damasco, Moritz Grossmann, Lange und Heine. Watch this space, as I said. Viewer wrist shots. Watch this space at your pace. Elton H. of Dublin, Ireland, sports his Seiko SPB08 JDM edition with Jaguar X-Type, rarely seen watches and wheels combo. The Emerald Dial and an Emerald Dial. A viewer showcases his Omega Moonwatch on a rubber strap, and I have to say that pairing looks great. Simon H. and Man's best friend are out for a walk. He also brought his dog. Jeff J. of Texas and his Tudor Heritage Black Bay, style for the camera on his 40th birthday. Happy birthday, Jeff. Send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag at thewatchbox.com to see your watches on this box. Jumping into the box. The chat box, Jeremy Sims saying that Code 1159 should have been launched in steel. I thought it should have been launched in base metals only. Steel, tantalum, titanium. Boom. It's not too late, AP. You've got the money. Make it happen. And then right here, we have my favorite watches of 2019. You guys were asking, and I have delivered. What am I thinking about collecting? Let's start with the new model year. It's done. 2019 is over. All the new watch launches we're seeing are going to be pre-2020 and, if anything, late phase launches that are really just designed to prime your appetite for 2020. All of which is to say that now that the book is all but closed, I can name my favorites from 2K19. All of the following are on my radar for purchase in the future. Some closer than others, but I genuinely want to own each of the following. You guys participate live. Let me know what 2019 watches. They have to be from this model year, and they can be from any point pre-SIHH right up to the last week. But what are your favorite 2019 watches? I'm going to be reading from the chat box as I go along. This is an interactive feature. My first thought, the Rolex Yacht-Master 42. $27,800. Now, I have to admit, I didn't fall for this one immediately. I saw it as the best of Rolex's model year, but I also thought Rolex had a little bit of an off year after a scalding 2018 and 2017. Which is to say, I liked it, but I wasn't smitten. The size, I have to say, the details, the quality, and the sheer panache of this watch did eventually capture me. And I have to say that I didn't crave the 226659 until I had it on my wrist, and then I was convinced. The size of the new Yacht-Master at 42 is perfect. It's 50 millimeters lug to lug. It's 11.8 millimeters thick, which makes it thinner than a Daytona. And the impression of solidity is second to none. Rolex expands, and I love this, its use of its dive watch glide lock system. You know that because of the bracelet on these Oysterflex watches, what looks like a strap is actually a bracelet covered with rubber, which means you can't cut it, which means you can't size it. So you have to choose the option length that's as close to your wrist as possible, and then hope that the bellows system that cinches it down and the Easy Link on the older models would allow you to fit it. No longer. With this, you have 12 millimeters of adjustment in 6 2mm increments, meaning you can now get close with the strap size and get a perfect fit. I'll also mention that in the hand, this watch feels like it will last forever. I just encountered it last week. I was impressed. The impression of quality. I have to say, it surpasses almost all comparable sports watches on straps, and that includes the offerings from AP and Patek Philippe. Add a ceramic-capped timing bezel, which is both durable and practical, 100-meter water resistance, a 3-day power reserve, a slick black and white color tandem, and you have a watch that looks a lot more like a strap-clad preview of a next-generation Submariner than any previous Yacht-Master. This is one cool dog, and I would not hesitate to purchase that watch. I do think these are going to sell at a little bit of a discount to retail after a few months, so used would be the way, because Rolex gives you a 5-year warranty, and they are doing right by their customers. Heck, they're even doing right by their secondary owners with half a decade. I've even seen a PDF document from Rolex that indicated 10-year service intervals. They at least said it once from Geneva's own mouth. Jumping into the box, I can see you guys Kevin S. asking, what about the Tudor P01? Not yet seen one in the metal. I like it. It was bold, it was offbeat, and Tudor, which generally just releases crowd-pleasing iterations of existing successful models, truly took a risk with the P01. A lot of folks don't like it. I do. First, because I think it's clever. Second, because I think it's bold. I have Lisa K. saying she is a huge fan of this year's Yacht-Master Grand Tradition Gyro Tourbillon Westminster Perpetual, a grand complication from La Grande Maison, easily the most impressive watch since the 2009 Grand Sonnery. And I can see right here, Marco B is a big fan of the new Patek Philippe 5172. And I can see right here, Slayer Rock Forever is a big fan of this year's 20th anniversary Lange Datograph Lumen with the glow sapphire dial, and I do not disagree. Right here we have the Fat Gent opining either the Yacht-Master 42 or the Meteorite Dial GMT for me this year. Guys, keep it coming. I can see right here we have Captain Z Vacheron Overseas Blue Dial Tourbillon. I wore that watch at SIHH. That is a hell of a grail watch. Good choices, guys. I'm also gonna remind you that I showed my hand a bit, but the Audemars Piguet Code 1159 Perpetual Calendar, $74,500. Can we go full screen with that? Because this is where the dial details and the case details and the lug hollows and the case form really come into their own. It feels like you've got a dial with the power to match that rather brutal and striking case lug profile. But at $74,500, I actually feel that this watch came in $10,000 to $20,000 less than I expected it to cost. So whereas the basic models are overpriced, this one's almost a bargain. I know that Instagram tells us we're supposed to mindlessly hate this model line, but I'm here to insist that I've seen this watch, I've put it on my wrist, and it was love at first bite. The Perpetual is exquisitely proportioned with a 41mm case and a slim 10.9mm thickness, which makes it almost 1.5 millimeters thicker, or thinner, I should say, than a Rolex Daytona. This one fits under a cuff, even if it doesn't look like it would. In person, the quality is tangible and the execution is impeccable. The aventurine dial is otherworldly, truly the proper canvas for the cosmos of a moon phase, and it's a sensation. It's also bottomless like enamel and hand polished. You can feel the value in this dial. I'm done throwing shade on the Code 1159. AP knows what it has to do. I can only hope that the Perpetual dial becomes a full range option in aventurine. AP, please make this happen. Jumping into the box right here, I could see that we've got Sean L asking, what about the Vacheron Constantin 56 base version full calendar with the blue dial? That was a great 2019 novelty. I like it. It's a great variation on what was already an appealing watch from 2018. Aaron Sauber saying Gold Speedmaster 50th edition. I think that's an amazing Apollo 11 tribute and an awesome watch. I've got Russell 996 Dato Lumen saying that's a 2018 piece. It was a 2018 launch, but I do think it was in the spirit of the 2019 model year anniversary. I want to say that was a pre-SIHH watch, so it came out in 2018, but I want to say it's 2019 model year. Just like next year's cars are already coming down the assembly line. And then right here, Andrew, FP Journe Astronomic Piece Unique. That's a piece unique. You can get it at Only Watch in the fall. Watch this space. I'm excited to see what the production version of that model actually looks like. And then right here I have Andreas E. saying Zenith El Primero Chronomaster Triple Calendar Moon Phase. All right, and then right here, Burned is asking me, Tim, can you comment on the rumors that there will be a Lange sports watch in 2019? Not only can I comment, but I'm fairly sure that's coming. Stainless steel, full bracelet next month. So you can hold me to that. You can hold my feet to that fire. That's the call I'm making. A little bird told me, and this bird doesn't miss fire. Dave Opencar, Zin 903 Hunter Green. Great choices, guys. And then we have Richard T. Hey, Tim, what about the Tudor 58, or was that from 2018? That was from 2018. Okay. Bethune DB28 Grand Bleu, $93,500. Guys, it's not often that I get to test a pre-production prototype of any watch, much less for a week, but that's exactly what I did with the pre-production prototype, maybe the only pre-production prototype of this watch, and I was able to offer some feedback on the production model. So the 100-meter water-resistant Grand Bleu sports a 44mm or 43.5mm titanium case and a unidirectional bezel. It is de Bethune's first true sports watch and a very cool machine. Even better, the 5-day power reserve of this one can be vectored to a dynamo that illuminates 4 LEDs inside the dial. So you can actually, it has luminova, but it also has an active dynamo-powered lighting system. It is very neat because you can see that the bezel is also a hollowed sapphire. So you have a sapphire with silk-screened indices and numerals, so you can actually read the bezel as the light shines through it. This is just a monster, and in every way, it's the kind of blue sky thinking and concept watch come to life that we love to see. All of the core features, I should mention, of the Bethune DB28 that won the 2011 GPHG Aiguille d'Or are retained, including the huge power reserve indicator, exotic triple shock protection, hinged spring-loaded lugs, and the dial side escapement. All of which is to say, if I were buying a dive watch with no budget, this would be right at the top of my list. And again, a little piece of me reaches you in every one of those. A Lange und Sohne Zeitwerk date. $97,000 and worth every penny, or perhaps I should say euro. This is a watch that I did not need a reason to love. The white gold 42mm Lange Zeitwerk was already on like my top 3 hit list of watches I need to own before I die. But Lange gave me more reasons in any event. For the 10th anniversary of the Zeitwerk, can you believe it's only been 10 years? The watch is more than a new orbital date display. Yes, it's that, but it's not just that. A revised twin-barrel caliber L0438 more than doubles the power reserve, now 77 hours, and it has a pair of flanking pushers. One allows you to adjust the date, the other allows you to step the hour rapidly. At 44.2 millimeters in white gold, it's large, but it's also shockingly thin. It's thinner than the standard Zeitwerk. At 12.2 millimeters thick, it is actually slightly thinner than a Rolex Daytona. So it's big, it's flat, it's lovable. I would even say it's lustable. This is a watch I would love to own, even if it were mine own cash on the table. And I also have to say that the Omega Aqua Terra Ultralight at $48,600 was probably the most unexpected watch of 2019. Let me jump, guys, leave that up. Let me jump into the box and see all of your favorites. JBO Surf saying, Tim, forget all your other selections, get the Zeitwerk. And I can see right here, we've got High and Rising asking, Tim, are there any trade-offs inherent to making a long power reserve watch, or is longer always better? There are a couple of trade-offs. Starting with packaging, that Zeitwerk is larger, not because of the date, likely because of the extra mainspring barrel. And I'll also mention that there are issues with long power reserve watches. When you use just a single barrel, you wind up with a watch that's going to run very slow at the end of its power reserve and very fast at the beginning. And that was the problem with the IWC caliber 5000s through 50,000s. With the 52,000 series, IWC fixed that, but it only took 15 years for them to get there. So yeah, there are some drawbacks from adding a long power reserve. And one of them, and this is a Panerai problem, is that if you don't put a power reserve indicator on the watch, you have no idea when you need to wind it unless you're really paying attention. So yes, there are some drawbacks in terms of packaging, timing refinement, and sometimes just figuring out when you need to wind the watch. And right here, let's see what else you guys are calling. We have Limpin saying, why wait, just pull the trigger for some of my Grail watches. And then Omegatron is saying, my vote is for a Bethune for you next, big watch, Tim, so I can live vicariously through your selection. Guys, keep letting me know, what are your favorite watches of 2019? We have a question about Farve Leubel watches. It's a company that's based in Switzerland, an ancient name famous for watches like the Biovac, which featured, among other things, a way of gauging the change in the weather. You can actually get these watches today in modern form, and they are now owned by the Tata Empire, which also owns Land Rover Jaguar and a million other things from industrials to hotels, which is to say, as with Land Rover Jaguar, they have proper capitalization to develop watches and develop worthy watches. My one problem is that so many of the new Farve Leubel watches are just so huge, they're unwearable. That's my one objection right there. But good watches if you can wear them. And then right here, we've got John Doe voting for any Grand Seiko, and William Fleming, Moser Pioneer center seconds on rubber for this year. I'm not going to disagree. I'm even going to say that the Pioneer rotating bezel, the dive watch that's not a dive watch, probably should have been on my list. And jumping into that watch that was the most surprising of 2019 to me, $48,600 for an Omega Aqua Terra and a base metal titanium Aqua Terra. Of all the watches on this list, I have to say that this and the Rolex probably would get the most wrist time on yours truly. It's like a concept car you can drive out of the car show with all the refinements and the blue sky imagination intact, even more than the de Bethune, because this is a watch that they practically encourage you to beat within an inch of its life. I will even go so far as to say it's underpriced because it is a 1/10 price Richard Mille. If you were to magnify the price, change the dial 10 times this price, you'd have an RM, let's call it an RM41 because it's 41 millimeters. And remember guys, it's a racing machine for the wrist. But while I like crazy watches and I like audacious design and engineering, I actually prefer to wear fairly low-key timepieces, and they don't come much more muted than this sandblasted grayscale Seamaster. Each year, usually at Baselworld, now at Time to Move, Omega's proprietary show, Omega launches a few special series platinum flagship models. This year, Omega has flipped the script and done the opposite by delivering exotic alloys and a watch that weighs all up with the strap and the buckle 55 grams. I have to say that there's even a green version for me. It's getting awfully hard to resist this one. It's almost like this were targeted perfectly to my tastes. And I'm a pre-existing Omega man with Grandpa's watch and my graduation Seamaster. Finishes media blasted metallic inside and out, on the dial side, on the case, and the movement. And all three, dial, case, and movement, are composed of exotic titanium alloys. The ceramized titanium movement plates and bridges genuinely look cool. And the watch has a bespoke hand-wound 3-day caliber 8929 that thus far hasn't found its way to any other Omega product. There's even a very cool spring-loaded retractable telescoping crown on the side of the watch, so you don't just do away with the crown guards, you practically do away with the asymmetry of the crown and the associated vulnerabilities. At almost 50 grand, this is a chunk of change for an Omega. But the water resistance, shock resistance, amagnetism, not anti-magnetism, amagnetism, the advanced materials, the bespoke movement, they place the Seamaster on a much higher technical plane than any of the volume that is mass-produced Vaucher and DD-powered RM watches. So if you're getting a Vaucher and Dubois de Pras watch, like, for example, an RM1103, that's not as technically adept as this. More thought and original engineering went into this watch. And I'm also going to say that this puts to shame any standard AP or Patek Philippe sports watch. Omega's asking almost 50 grand, and I'm telling you right here, it's going to take a depreciation hit. You will be able to buy it for less money. But compared to what competitors and even non-competitors like RM are asking for similar technology or worse, I actually think this is a reasonably priced watch. Now let me jump right into the box here. Kevin S., truly a man after my own heart, with a great selection. The Bulgari Octo Finissimo Chronograph GMT, 41 millimeters, and it's only 6.9 millimeters thick. The movement, which is based on the automatic tourbillon, is only 3.3 millimeters thick. It's a GMT with a 24-hour second time zone. It's a column wheel chronograph in titanium with titanium dial on full bracelet. It's feather light. It's probably the most impressive chronograph of the year, and I'm actually writing a series as part of a roundtable on quillandpad.com. I'm going to give you a little bit of a spoiler alert, but my category selection for the GPHG Chronograph Award 2019 is that Bulgari. Jumping into the box right here. Tim, I thought management banned sunglasses worn on your head. That's from Mark S. No, that's coming. They've informed me that's coming down the pike, so I figure rage against the dying of the light. Hold on to them for as long as I can. They're an unintentional fashion statement. And then right here, we have we have Gurkham joining in. Gurkhaman joining from the Philippines, and Joey saying the two-tone Black Bay Chrono. That's right, we got a Black Bay Chrono steel and gold this year, and that is Joey's favorite for the year. That's styling and a much better value than getting some sort of a two-tone Daytona. And then right here, I see BS saying, I wonder what the resale on those Omegas would be. I'm willing to bet that if that watch sells for $48,600 new, you'll be picking it up somewhere between $28,000 and $30,000 as a pre-owned watch. That's my guess. But with a 5-year warranty, you've got no excuse for not buying that watch used. right here. Guys, keep letting me know, what are your favorite new watches of 2019? I've got another one for you from a most unexpected source. Breitling Premier 01, Chronograph 42, Bentley British Racing Green. Can we go full screen? This is a small variation on the late 2018 release Premier collection, but I have to say that's the most imposing and appealing Breitling launch since the 2007 Super Ocean Heritage line bout. That is a really good-looking watch, dial, strap, and case. Small changes to the dial, strap, and case, like that engine-turned nameplate, have created the most appealing new Breitling in a generation. On a strap or a bracelet, this is one of the most handsome and roundly appealing all-men's watches available right now. It's too big for a lady's wrist, but if you're a dude, the 42 is sized just about perfectly, and the green dial is Breitling's most beautiful to my eye. That green dial really appeals. The B01 movement, let's not forget, column wheel, vertical clutch, chronometer certified, 3-day power reserve, and Tudor uses it in the Black Bay Chrono. This watch is the real deal inside and out. $8,500 to $8,800, depending on whether you get it on the bracelet. As always, if you're going to buy it, get it on the bracelet and buy the strap as an accessory. But that is a really hot watch from Breitling, and I have to say, it's also one of the most underappreciated and unsung, because you almost never hear about it alongside all the Navitimer rollouts. Moritz Grossmann. Moritz Grossmann is a small brand out of Glashütte, and this is the Hamatic, their first automatic watch, $47,600. Admittedly, the Glashütte Independent started 2019 on the back foot due to a misguided effort to immortalize the second Trump-Kim summit in a peace-unique watch. If we can go full screen right here, guys, I appreciate the idea, but something about that just doesn't work. I will also say, in Grossmann's defense, I hear the boxed set of accessories was packed like a gulag with all kinds of fun stuff. Man, you really get the set when you open the box on that one. Some of that stuff's questionably useful and questionably legal, but my God, did they load it down. MG salvaged its reputation with the sensational Hamatic Bumper Automatic, the firm's first auto-winding watch. White gold or rose gold, your choice, 41 millimeters. Its manufacturer caliber 106 hammer auto is eye-watering in its beauty. And I will even go so far as to say that its Glashütte style of finish is warm enough to melt even the hardest heart in North Korea. This is truly the stuff of dreams, right down to their lovely use of brown. There's sort of a brown-purple, minimally fired annealed screw. They actually have to pull it out of the flame quicker to create that purple, and they use all clear sapphire pivots with black polish, hand chamfer, German silver, and you could see the twin ratchet wheels of the winding system as well as the spring-loaded hammer at the center of the winding mechanism. This is blue sky imagination from a company that had been, with the exception of a few flights of fantasy, very traditional previously. This might be the best automatic watch of the year. The 41mm Grossmann Beauty is one of the best watches of the year of any kind, and it deserves to be mentioned alongside the likes of the currently trendy Akrivia and Charles Frodsham, as well as acknowledged masters like Carey and Roger Smith. It's that good. Jumping into the box right here, we got the Watch Lounge noting we're up to 400 live, and we got JCWB asking, what do you think about the new Bell & Ross BR05 40mm integrated bracelet Nautilus meets instrument watch? Now that you know, I think it's a little bit derivative, but I understand what they're doing. In their favor, it's a handsome watch. It's attractively priced. The black dial between the silver, the black, and the blue dial, the black dial with the instrument style calibration, feels the most Bell & Ross. So if you're going to buy one, in my opinion, that's the one that has the most design DNA from the brand. The silver dial, the skeleton dial, the blue dial, they feel way too trendy right now, and while I like the watch, let's face it, you're not getting a Nautilus for under $10,000. At the same time, I really wish they'd done something a little bit more original, because duh, we're kind of in the 11th hour of this Nautilus fad, and I don't think the knockoffs are going to be making hay for that much longer. Well, the sun shines, guys, but dusk is upon us. And then jumping right in, Matt Foster saying, tried on some Moritz Grossmann this weekend at Cellini. Great casebacks. Dials didn't grab me, and I think traditionally that is their weakness on the dial side. They do have some new skeleton. That is, they have these new inverse dials, and they have blue dials. Of course, they've got the Trump-Kim dial, I'm sure still available for 13,000 euros. Now, Patek Philippe. This was the big one, guys. The 5520P, the Calatrava Pilot Travel Time Alarm. That's a big name. And it's not a big watch. This is a timepiece that's not even 11 millimeters thick and just over 42 in diameter. I have to agree, as a side, with SJX, who is a watch connoisseur and journalist extraordinaire, that ultra-luxury alarm watches do not get enough respect. How else can you explain masterpieces like the Ulysse Nardin Sonata family and the Glasuta Original Senator Diary basically languishing as both new and used watches? Those are some of the most useful, sonorous, intricate, complicated, and value-packed complications on the market past or present, and yet they don't get any respect. Patek? I'm not sure. This is a new piece and we're in uncharted territory. But for me, the new 5520P takes up the cause of the ultra-luxury alarm watch with a case and a dial borrowed from 2015's 5524G Calatrava Pilot. The dial is world-class. Thanks for the full screen, guys. It's a combination of a sunburst metallic and you can see a pebbly grained surface with white gold applique numerals and cathedral-style hands. You can also see that the dial detail is not only best in the world, but it's no exaggeration to call this the most appealing travel watch of all time. Look at what you're getting. You're getting lume that is mega. So you can see this one in the dim light of a overseas airline flight, the red eye. This adds practicality to a $226,810 watch. This is a watch with a grand complication-worthy movement. It's the AL330-660SCFUS, a big movement with a big name to match, but it packs 2 time zones, 2 day-night indicators, a date, a 24-hour format alarm that is from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m., automatic winding, and minute repeater chiming gear, including a centrifugal governor and gongs, all powered by 4 patents and 574 parts. Did I mention that this is a 42 millimeter watch under 11 millimeters thick? It's a white metal. It's a black dial. It's discreet enough that no one's going to suspect you're wearing a substantial house on your wrist. And I have to say that if I could have just one watch from this show, it would be darn hard. I would have to say it's probably between this and maybe the Bethune or the Zeitwerk. But that's a really hard call. That's one hell of a Patek, and I do hope that the folks with the financial firepower actually buy this ultra-luxe alarm watch. This discreet and practical Patek Philippe Patrician sits atop my 2019 model year wish list. Now let me see what you guys are saying right here. We have Russell996 saying I'm not sure if this is a prediction, but he's calling a 5522 Calatrava Pilot in platinum. We'll see if that happens. And right here, John Doe saying all new watches should come with 1 free service. I actually agree right there, and I've seen, for example, Blancpain giving you the first service free if you buy at their boutique. I've also seen Cabestan, which is a small fusee tourbillon company. I've seen them offering a first service for free. I've also heard that Beat Haldeman gives a lifetime warranty on his watches and will simply service them for free if you ever send them back any number of times. So something like that exists, but it should be industry standard. And then JBO Surf saying, I hate the code 1159 so much I stop my watch at 1158 and wind it forward to 12 o'clock to ensure it never indicates 1159. Man, can you imagine how good the marketing campaign would have been if they just called it the code 1158 and rolled out Iron Maiden's 2 Minutes to Midnight as the theme song? The thing would have been a hit. And then right here, we have Eric Nielsen saying that Patek has more horns than, well, let's just say it's got more warts than a hog and more eyes than a tuber, and you'd be right on the mark. And then I see Andrew saying, yuck, he's not a fan of that particular Patek. And then Hans is asking, Tim, do you have an overactive thyroid? No, my weight is lean and my hair is all intact. And then right here we've got the unlikely metalhead, man after my own heart and head, joining from North Carolina. Thank you for finally making one of our live shows. And for those of you who have been longtime viewers and participants, viewer wrist shots, Glenn W. chose the best Hilux sports watch among the Swiss Holy Trinity with a black dial 2018 model Vacheron Overseas Auto. Sean from Shanghai sent an incredible photo file to me, but I loved this Longines Legend Diver and Refreshment most. James of New York City and his Rolex sub are reporting on location from Mykonos, Greece. And Karsten L. an air traffic controller from Copenhagen, and his AP Royal Oak 15450 guide our show to a soft landing. Guys, thank you so much. I can see Kevin S., another one of my brothers from another mother, loving the Iron Maiden reference. Guys, this show is all metal all the time, and some hard rock. Ozzy's Boneyard, my home away from home. Send your wrist chats to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com to see your analog on this digital. And of course, comment and subscribe. If you're watching this recorded, tell me in the comments, what is your favorite watch of 2019? Thanks to you. Thanks, as always, to my cameraman and my technical crew. Time out, Tim out, and thanks for logging on.